this camaraderie that forms across everybody that's there. And it becomes kind of like, I don't want to say a club, but it's like the Coolidge is the place to be. And as I said, when I first came there, the Coolidge was my first friend because it wasn't very long if you were going there that you would see someone else that you know. You would always find somebody that you know, and you still would see that today, certainly. So I think part of it is the curating, part of it is exhibition, part of it is the conversations we have. We have a staff member introduce almost every one of those repertory films and give some background on it, so it really personalizes the experience. And then, of course, we don't show commercial advertising, which makes us much more pleasant to be part of.
I agree. We all try to time it now. So with all apologies to Nicole Kidman, nobody needs to see that sequin dress one more time. I'm speaking with Katherine Tallman, who is has been the executive director and CEO of the Coolidge Corner Theater. She is stepping down at the end of the month. Well, let's talk a little bit about you and your love of film. As you just said, the Coolidge became your best friend when you moved to Brookline, but that's because you were always seeking out movies. This has always been who you are, a longtime lover of film.
Well, I have always loved movies, and I'm certainly different than my colleagues who are amazingly ensconced in film. I mean, they know everything. If you say 1940, they'll like rattle off every film, every director. I'm more along the lines of like, I like that. I saw that. And just seeing everything. And from the time I was young, I was at the movies all the time, which was pretty typical of my generation, I think, to spend Saturdays. But one thing that I came up with as I was writing my farewell letter to the community that I hadn't put together before is I was starting to write, all my life I've gone to the movies. I've loved movies. Then I started thinking, why? And my mother used to take me to movies. And then I recalled my mother telling me that she was in a movie theater when she went into labor with me and had to leave the theater. So it was July. She was there for air conditioning. And so like, ta-da, it was just innate, right?
Do you know what that movie was?
It was House of Wax.
Oh, really? Wow. That's intense. Do you have a favorite genre of film?
I don't really have a favorite of anything. I mean, I like high quality film. Like, I don't know if I should mention films in particular. Like I just saw Pillion, which I thought was fantastic. Obviously, One Battle After Another's fantastic. Small films, big films. I mean, I just like film gives you such a doorway into other lives and other places and other times in life that unless a film is poorly made, I would enjoy just about anything.
Well, I hate asking the favorite question because I would answer the same. I have many favorites. I can winnow it down to a selection of favorites, but in all the experiences you've had, all the big celebrity experiences, the directors, the major personalities who've come through, what have been some of the memorable encounters that you've had?
I thought you were going to ask me my favorite movie, which everybody asks, and I was actually,
I skipped.
I was prepared to answer that because I never am. But I was thinking about this, and it's like there have been so many, especially recently, that it's you tend to look at like the most recent thing. I mean, certainly Jafar Panahi was just a thrill to meet him. Ethan is an amazing guy, and spending time with him is incredible. Francis Ford Coppola. I mean, who would know that would ever happen? Lee Volman, Pyle Kapadia, I mean, Ruth Carter, Elegance Bratton. I mean, it just goes on. And the thing that's nice about each one of those people is they truly are wonderfully kind and warm human beings.
I found that about Michael Douglas. That was the one, I forgot about him till you just said that, because I thought, well, if anybody who has earned the right to really be a movie star and carry himself as a movie star would be Michael Douglas. And he and the man who was accompanying him that night was a total gentleman, because I often judge people by the people around them. And if they're nice, then it's coming from the top. All right, now I have to ask, since you had to arrive on one.
Since I brought up the question I hope nobody would ever ask. So people ask me that question all the time. And it's, as we know, it's like I always say the next one, the one I haven't seen yet. But when I think about the movie that I would think is absolutely lasting over time through generations, that is so powerful, it would be The Wizard of Oz. It has music, it has morality, it has just all kinds of interesting, beautiful things that just talk a lot about life.
Do you go back and watch that film regularly?
I don't know. I mean, certainly growing up, I watched it every year on Thanksgiving, right? That's that's what we did. No, I wouldn't. But, I think it really is so powerful, and it really speaks to every generation.
I wonder how you think about the Coolidge today. You've just come through a big expansion project, and there's always that balance when you have a building that is so treasured and then it has a newer component and how it lives together and coalesces. How have you found the expansion experience to be?
It certainly has been helpful all around. I mean, a couple of the drivers for the expansion, we wanted more space. We wanted a lobby for people, which has been such a godsend, especially in this winter. And we really needed more incremental revenue. So from a business perspective, I look at that expansion and I'm like, thank you so much, because that is really helping our financial stability. I think in terms of the integration with the old and the new, I think our architects did a nice job of blending them. And once you're in the door, you're just going to your movie theater and enjoying that, and having a great exhibition experience at each one of those theaters is helpful. I also love that education center. That was one of my big things that I wanted to have happen, and we've really enjoyed and used that.
Remind me of the number of school kids you have coming in on an annual basis now.
So we have this dedicated education space, which is fairly small, but and we use those for adult education classes primarily, but we also hired a director of education, a former high school teacher who put together a consortium of high school teachers who developed a curriculum that aligns with the Massachusetts core curriculum requirements. And now, we started last year, we had 3,000 students. This year we have 4,000 students. We pay for, thanks to funding, we pay for buses and lunches, and then our director of education teaches the class. It is so amazing to see, especially after years where we would think, these theaters are empty all day. What can we do? Yeah. And now like hundreds of kids coming in, pouring off buses and going in. Many of them haven't been to the theater. Many of them haven't seen a movie on a big screen. They certainly have never seen anything in black and white. Wow. And hearing the discussion is pretty remarkable too.
Well, speaking of funding, there is a Katherine Tallman Endowment Fund, I understand, that is being launched. Tell people a little bit about that and how they can further ensure the longevity of the Coolidge.
No, aren't you great? Thank you for that opening. Anybody who kind of works with me knows that I never wanted anything named after me, because I'm so it's very team oriented. Everybody else contributed to it. And then when I was about to leave, I thought there is one thing that I would like name. It doesn't mean I don't care if it's named after me, but I want this to be a fundraiser. And so then we have the Katherine Tallman Endowment Fund, so that people can really also contribute to the future of the theater. And I'm happy to say that it's been really well received. I think anybody that wants to make a donation can look on our website and find a link there. I'm looking forward to our celebration on the 24th, where we'll have a lot of people and an opportunity there. So thank you, because we know from arts organizations, an endowment fund is a critical component of long-term survival.
You don't want to ever be in the position the Coolidge once was, where people were literally locking arms to save the building. This hopefully ensures that we have a place to go forever. Well, Katherine Tallman, I know you're not actually going away, so I look forward to seeing you lots more.
I'll see you at the movies.
And at the speaker series.
Yes, you will.
For our listening audience, I moderate the speaker series. Katherine has a great seat that I can often look up and see you there, as I did when we were recently talking to Ken Burns, and he was talking about films, and I looked right for you in the balcony.
It makes it even more special.
It does. Well, Katherine Tallman, congratulations on retirement from the Coolidge, and look forward to seeing you, as I mentioned.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Jared. Appreciate it.
For more than a decade, Katherine Tallman has been the executive director and CEO of the Coolidge Corner Theater. She's stepping down from the role at the end of the month. Her team is ascending, by the way, so your DNA is all over the place still. And we look forward to continuing our relationship with them, to Beth and Mark. To keep on top of the Coolidge programming, check out their website. Coming up, ceramic artist Roberto Lugo on remixing classical pottery with hip-hop, history, and hard truths about race and power. He's next on The Culture Show. Stay with us.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
This Black History Month, we're looking back at some relatively recent Black history between iconic shows, albums, films, and more. 2016 was a big year for Black culture.
One of the years that really crystallizes the Black excellence idea. I mean that for better and usually for worse.
Reflecting on 2016 moments that made Black culture stand out. On All Things Considered from NPR News.
Today at 4, here on GBH News 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And Cambridge School of Culinary Arts in Porter Square, offering teen and adult recreational cooking and baking workshops, series, and cooking couples classes for culinary enthusiasts. CambridgeCulinary.com. And Boston Children's Museum, presenting National Engineers Week. Activities include practicing to be an engineer through challenges and more through February Vacation Week. Tickets at bostonchildrensmuseum.org. And the Bach Center's Folk Americana Roots Hall of Fame, presenting its annual induction celebration March 24th at the Bach Center Wang Theater, honoring influential artists with tributes, live performances, and an onstage dinner. FolkAmericanaRootsHallOfFame.org.
Your trusted local news, covering the stories that matter to you. Stay informed and stay connected on the on your phone, tablet, or smart TV. GBH News, what matters to you.
I'm Jared Bowen. This is The Culture Show on 89.7 and streaming on our GBH News YouTube channel. For centuries, fine porcelain was rare, expensive, and closely tied to power. European royal courts funded factories to produce it. Palaces featured entire rooms to display it. These vessels weren't everyday objects. They were statements of wealth and empire. Artist Roberto Lugo takes porcelain off its pedestal and gives it back to the people. Raised in North Philadelphia, he grew up with hip-hop and graffiti before ever sitting down to a potter's wheel. Today, he throws monumental, gold-trimmed vessels with exacting precision and hand-paints commanding portraits of Tupac, Biggie, Harriet Tubman, and members of his own community within those gilded surfaces. He may work in prestige and rarefied traditions, but he has sculpted a role that, in his own words, is that of a village potter. Now his exhibition, Invisible Ink, is on view at the Robert Lehman Art Center at Brooks School in North Andover and is on view through March 6th. The show brings together porcelain, painting, and customized sneakers, mapping the through line between hip-hop, portraiture, and visibility. Roberto Lugo, welcome back to The Culture Show. It's great to see you again.
Great to see you, too. I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, we are so lucky to have you in our midst and for people, again, to see your work. The last time we spoke, your work was on view at the Currier Museum in Manchester, New Hampshire. I should point out it's collected in museums, including our own Museum of Fine Arts. But to go back, when you first found pottery, what was that moment for you? Because I know it was a process for you to get there.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty confusing because I think I found myself in the classroom for a lot of different reasons, but one of them was I was really hungry for a community. You know, I wanted to be around other people, and I knew there was something to pottery, and I think it was that drew me to it. I think it was being productive was interesting to me, because I grew up in more of a blue-collar family, and that history of labor was sort of in my blood. And so the idea of like seeing things that you create made me feel accomplished at the end of the day. But I think sort of the access to the arts, the lack of access to the arts, made me feel kind of complicated during my initial interaction with pottery. I felt like I didn't belong there. You know, I felt like, this is for people who have extra time in their life to be able to pursue something that they enjoy. So there was an immense amount of guilt. And over time, I think I started to pay attention to that guilt and respond through it through the things that I create.
Well, what was it about what you were shaping? We all know, even if we don't make pottery ourselves, we've seen it. We know that tactile nature of what it is to get your hands into the clay and see something literally surface before you. How much of that was part of your process and that acceptance you were just talking about?
Well, I think I came to art at a really distinct angle than most people. I didn't have any art classes growing up, and I didn't really have a relationship with functional pottery. And one of the ways that I talk about it is like, if you come from where I do, people are more concerned about having access to food than they are the bowls that they're eating them out of. So thinking about that, when I first started to think about how to use this object, coming from my father who, worked a lot with wood, I saw the wheel as a machine that made round things. Like he used to have a fix-a-flat tire shop where people would come in and with flats, and he would, change the tire. And that's really the first thing I thought about when I saw this machine spinning around in circles. And I made a fire hydrant that was a soap dispenser, was one of the first things I made on the wheel. Because when the water would get shut off when I was little, my dad and I, once or twice, we showered in the fire hydrant and late at night. And, I think a lot of my work is this play on that, this sort of representation of where I'm from. And I was really surprised at how that happened at the beginning. And it's one of the talking points that I talk to students about, like when I recently visited Brooks, was, the idea that you don't have to wait to make something great. Sometimes our greatest contributions are based off of our lived experience and the stories we tell from them. And it's not necessarily waiting your whole life to make something really profound. Sometimes it just comes from living. And I think that's the great denominator with our art.
Well, that is
great
what
mediator, I should say.
That is what is so interesting about your work, is you create ceramics that I had never seen before, with these paintings on them and this biography in them. Is that something that just came naturally to you? Because I wonder if you think, if you're formally taught, you think, oh, well, I have to do X, Y, and Z because this is how it's always been done, or this is how I'm being instructed to do. Did you feel that you had more license to create, perhaps because you didn't have that background?
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways that's true. I think we're sort of taught, especially when we get access to art, all this art jargon is sort of a hierarchy. But if we look at some of the most gifted artists, or the people that I really relate to, I think of Basquiat, I think of Cy Twombly, these artists who, at the end, they really taught themselves how to have the courage to paint like a child again. And I think it comes from like getting what's in us out. And we see it so transparently in ancient cave paintings. We can see that there are some 10,000 years apart from the ancient paintings in Lascaux to the paintings that were done in Argentina, but they look identical. And I think it's partly because people were responding to their lived experience. And then for me, I would say one of the things I became aware of is how just our everyday existence, where if we're fortunate enough to be people that can see, there's a lot of things that become part of our visual landscape and vocabulary, and sort of formulate an idea in our minds of what things should look like and what is art. So growing up where I did, Philadelphia has an incredible mural arts program, which I've been fortunate enough to paint a mural of Black Thought of the Roots. And that was really the things that I would see every day on my way to school, as well as graffiti. And so mural arts has sort of a history of painting portraits of people of color. And then I was doing graffiti more as a creative outlet, and honestly as a way to keep myself safe. I felt like if I could stay around my older cousins who were tougher and do this thing that I felt like I knew it came easy to me, that somehow I would be protected. And so it's maybe an unorthodox story, but it's what happens when I think we give more people from a diverse background access to art.
And what has happened to you as your career has taken off? I just gave two examples at the top. You being in museums, again, including our own MFA, the exhibition you have now underway, the one you had in Manchester. You are a huge part of the Afrofuturist room at the Metropolitan Museum in New York. Where does that put you now versus how you came up?
Well, I think one of the things that I realized is that really the greatest way that I can contribute in my life and art is the more that I continue to get these opportunities that give me, cultural capital where having work at the Metropolitan Museum of Art is such a huge honor to be in a building with ancient Egyptian art and some of the greatest artists who have ever existed, and to have a banner of my work on the front of it for a little while, and to be welcomed in the way that the incredible staff there supported me was one way. And then that same week, I went back to my old neighborhood and I was teaching people with the clay studio how to make pots on the street. And I was teaching people in juvenile detention centers, and then seeing what a lack of access to art does. I think for a lot of times in these communities, there are artists ingrained and they never get access. And so as a means of survival, sometimes people resort to things that might wind up putting them in prison or making them feel lost in this world. And so I wind up doing a lot of work in and out of neighborhoods like where I grew up. So that's why this partnership and exhibition at Brooks was so important, because I feel like a school like that is built to future leaders, people doing research at an early age, where they have the autonomy to do it. And then, for example, I spoke with a small group of students there, and one of them was doing research on, Black women's history of having their reproductive rights taken away from them. And another young student, a young Black man, was doing research on the healthcare system and inequality. And another young woman was doing one on serial killers and fandom. And, these are high school students. I never had to write a paper in high school. And so, in a matter of fact, my first day of high school, our teacher handed out a textbook and said, write word for word what's in here. So if anyone looks in here, it looks like you're doing something. Other than that, I don't care what you do. So, I've had some really varied experiences with education. And I would say one of the most significant ones was in 4th grade, my family moved to New Haven, Connecticut for about 3 months. And up to that point, we were just taking turns with a Snapple lid, reading sentences in a picture book. And in New Haven, they made us read whole books. So I read the Diary of Anne Frank, and Matilda and Roald Dahl, and all the students around me were reading full books. And I just realized we didn't get to that point again until my high school years, that we were reading at that level. And the disparity in education is so important. So I speak to these things at places like Brooks to make those kids know, hey, you have so much going on for you, and it's up to you to contribute positively to society and make it so that more people like me have opportunities in this world. So I do that. And then I also will, I just gave a talk at West Philly High to about 8 students, and none of them had any access to art or knew anything about art. And you're just planting the seed at that point on what potential life where you have the freedom to choose what you want to do with your life could be. And so that diversity and approach, I think, is what probably makes my studio practice most distinct.
I'm speaking with Roberto Lugo, whose work Invisible Ink is in the exhibition Invisible Ink at the Robert Lehman Art Center at Brooks School in North Andover, and is on view through March 6th. And that plays into exactly what you've described yourself as. I mentioned the village potter. It's clear that your career can't proceed unless you're continue to be part of the community and have these engagements. You also make a lot of work that you give away to the community. How has that become a fundamental part of your practice?
Well, I think giving work away is pretty crucial, because I think for a lot of times people think the only way to interact with art is to own it, and I think maybe that is a result of capitalism, of sort of and even colonization in a way, of this idea of having to be the owner of something. And then I realized that same sort of breadth of the people that where I come from are concerned about food. How do I involve those people? And I think about historical movements that have thought about these questions. For example, William Morris in the arts and crafts movement, thinking about how to make beautiful handmade objects for the everyday person. I think about the Mingei movement in Japan, sort of the idea of making art accessible to the everyday person. And, I think about that, and all these moments where I'm able to get a commission from a museum. How do I get my work into the hands of people from the community that I come from? And so one of the ways that I do is I read about a method that Warren McKenzie, who is a professor at University of Minnesota, had, where he would have an open studio cell, and he'd just have a pail that was like, pay what you can. And so every winter during the holidays, I open my studio up and I take a few months out to make hundreds of pots. This year, me and my two kids were able to do it, and we all sold all of our pottery together. And, we had teachers there, and, there would be a pot that was a couple of $100s, and they said, could I pay 20 for it? And, I would give them that piece. And then there's people where I will go out to where I'm from and just, I play this numbers game that my old professor taught me, where everybody gets to guess a number, and whoever gets closest wins this cup. And, that's part of it. Some people get to own it. But I think that's what makes it more special, and it doesn't take away from the value or my time as an artist. I feel like I still need to charge what my time is valued for. So I think the act of giving something away for free doesn't remove that ability or the value of my work. It sort of just becomes more of a cultural exchange, which I think, in essence, is priceless.
I think people have heard, and everything you've said so far, this resiliency that you have, and this focus on a path forward. I want to ask you about what the Trump administration is doing right now in terms of artists such as yourself. We have talked about on this show how basically one of the Trump executive orders taking on arts and culture specifically cited a show at the Smithsonian called The Shape of Power, Stories of Race in American Sculpture. And I was crestfallen when I looked at that exhibition and saw so many artists I'm so familiar with, including you. This work was called out by the President of the United States as an example of why arts and culture should essentially be reformed. When you saw that targeted, what continues to be your response to get your art out in this environment?
Yeah, I think it's very similar to when I think of the sort of backlash with Bad Bunny being in the halftime show. I think just the idea, the premise of the words Black Lives Matter, for a lot of people, make them feel as if what we're insinuating somehow is that their lives don't matter, And one of the ways that I've sort of explained to people where that's a falsehood is, have you ever gotten a fruit salad that just has way too much cantaloupe or melon, and then you just get like one kiwi, and all of a sudden that kiwi becomes the focus, and everybody wants to, whoever gets to it first, you sort of pick apart. And it's sort of like the melon or cantaloupe isn't great. It's part of what we love about fruit and what we think about, but it doesn't mean it's the only thing, right? And so I think diversity is incredibly important, and it's not a substitute for you as a human being, whether you're white or whatever gender or non-gender identity you conform to, or whatever race you are. And I think what it is sort of gives people a quick peek at what it's like to be another, and they don't like it. They don't like that feeling of being behind in some way. Or as some of my fellow artists have said, that I should be really happy that I have something to say. And, in many ways, I'd rather have not gone through a lot of the traumatic experiences to get to that point. But I have to really look at all those opportunities, those moments where I've struggled as a person of color. I can see those as my deficit, my defect, or I can see that as my effect, my sense of purpose. And so if we talk about specifically the work I had in The Shape of Power, it was a human life cast of me, which has been done for hundreds of years in history. If we look at, plaster death masks, like the one done of Dante, and to have a replica of your body, is sort of the only thing that's distinct is that it's my body and I happen to be a person of color. And then it was an exploration on my DNA. I had done a DNA test and was just showing all the different parts of what it means to be a Puerto Rican. And so I broke up my body. You ever see those like charts that have all the different parts of a cow, like the chuck and the round? And I painted all the sections with different patterns that make up being a Puerto Rican. And I just think it's interesting how that's offensive to some people. And the reality is that my work is actually very traditional. I make ancient Greek pots, I make blue and white pots, and I do them in the same way they've been done through history. And the only thing that's absent, the only thing that's different about my work is that it includes people that have been absent from that history. And so therefore it becomes controversial. But in reality, the only thing controversial is that we've been ignored by the decorative arts and by history at large. And so we see that, and how, you might see European ceramics at an art museum, but to see, African ceramics, you may need to go through an anthropology museum. So it's not revered in the same capacity, and our intellect, our way of being, our cultures are not celebrated at the same magnitude. And so my work is an attempt to reclaim these histories and to find our place in this world. And I think so many people are trying to do that I wish that we could find places where these liminal spaces where we intersect and are alike. And just one quick example is I just recently made a pair of sneakers where I painted one sneaker like the Jibaro people of Puerto Rico, which are the mountain people of Puerto Rico, and they sing songs and they're farmers and they're very family oriented, and they remind me very similar like the American South and how people celebrate and revere their cultures. And so I painted one sneaker like a group of Puerto Ricans and one like a group of these Americans, so people can sort of see how we're similar. Because I think one of the things that politics does is it divides us in order to get us to vote one way or another. And instead, I think really the role of leadership should be to show us how we're similar to each other so we can empathize with one another and learn to work with one another to create a better coexistence in society at large.
Well, and certainly learn from one another. And your work is just so glorious and absolutely helps us do that. If people have been watching on our stream or check out our stream after, that's where they'll find so many images of your work, which I am always drawn to whenever I see you in galleries now and museums, which I'm so excited for. It's always great to speak with you. Thank you so much for being with us today. Over the past decade, Roberto Lugo's work has entered major museum collections across the country, including, as I mentioned, the Museum of Fine Arts, placing him among the artists redefining contemporary ceramics. His exhibition, Invisible Ink, and I should mention "in" is in parentheses in that title, is at the Robert Lehman Art Center at Brooks School in North Andover and on view through March 6th. The show brings together porcelain, painting, and customized sneakers. To learn more, check out their website. Coming up, we're continuing our Michelin guide, checking in with the Greater Boston chefs and restaurateurs who have received the region's first ever Michelin honors. Chompon Boonnak joins us for that conversation. He's next on The Culture Show. Stay with us.
An author from Cameroon was exiled from his home country for criticizing its longtime ruler, but he doesn't embrace the label of dissident.
I don't know if I consider myself a dissident. I simply consider myself a person because it will give too much honor, really, to a tyranny.
His memoir is about growing up in Cameroon. That's next time on The World.
This afternoon at 3, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And the Umbrella Arts Center in Concord, Massachusetts, presenting Harper Lee's classic To Kill a Mockingbird, live on stage February 27th through March 22nd. Tickets and information at theumbrellaarts.org. And the Peabody Essex Museum, presenting Andrew Gunn, Fashioning the World, a retrospective of the Singaporean fashion designer. You can learn more at pem.org. And Explore New England. From the waters of Block Island to the White Mountains of New Hampshire, this original documentary film series explores the region's great outdoors through a variety of activities. Available on YouTube and Roku or explorenewengland.tv.
On Saturday, February 28th, join us for the GBH News Shorts Fest.
We'll watch 3 local documentaries and hear from the filmmakers and journalists who made them happen. Get your tickets at gbh.org/events.
I'm Jared Bowen. This is The Culture Show, live on 89.7 and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. What happens to a neighborhood restaurant when a secretive group of inspectors suddenly tells the world this place is exceptional? With the Michelin Guide putting Greater Boston on the menu, a handful of dining rooms and cocktail havens now bear a burnished prestige and perhaps some newfound pressure. We're continuing our series checking in with the restaurants on that list to see what Michelin has meant for their kitchens, their dining rooms, and the city around them. Today, we're joined by Chompon Boonnak. He's the co-owner of Mahaniyom in Brookline, and Merai, an elevated Thai dive bar. Mahaniyom received a Bib Gourmand designation, a special distinction recognizing restaurants that serve, quote, high-quality food at great value. He also received a special Exceptional Cocktails Award, which recognizes a mixologist whose, quote, creative and masterful drink creations have impressed inspectors. Boone, thank you so much for being on the show. Congratulations on these 2 honors from the Michelin Guide. That's extraordinary.
Well, thank you so much. And then thank you for inviting me here. And it's such an honor to be here and talk about the awesome and exciting about this award.
Well, it seems what you have done is just create something so obviously distinctive and singular, but this has been your passion. First, why don't we just start by my asking what the concept for the restaurant is as you saw it when you opened?
Okay, so starting at I moved to Boston in 2008, and then I've been working in the restaurant while I was in college. I went to BU for finance in master degree, but then during that times I always work in the restaurant, and I always have a passion with the cocktail as well. So that's all is summed up. And at the end, we have Mahaniyom, which is my business partner, Smash, who's a friend that grew up together. We know since elementary school.
This is amazing. Your friend, one of your best friends in Thailand. You've known each other forever, and now you're business partners.
Yes, and then we just from us we saw the opportunity, and then we also always see that there's something that lack of the Thai culture, like the way we eat and the way we drink, so that the Mahaniyom was born. Yeah.
And it seems like your restaurant is filled with herbs and flavors and seasoning, always hearkening back to Thailand.
Yes. And the one of the concept the concept of Mahaniyom is we try to cook the food from scratch. We make the flavor that it's just same as Thailand. So that's how we put it together and combine with the classic cocktail that have a Thai flavor twist into it. So that's a combine, yeah.
Well, I'll get to the cocktails in a minute, but here you are as somebody who didn't study this, but then again, with your longtime childhood friend, you create this restaurant, and then it seems from inception, you're getting these extraordinary reviews. The Boston Globe gives you a rare 5-star reviews. The New York Times singles you out as one of the 25 best restaurants in Boston, and now, of course, this Michelin Guide dual honor. Do you know what you have done that has made your restaurant so good?
One thing that I really proud and really happy is that I think I have the best team. I hands down. Everyone just play their part really well. Also the Thai culture. Also we have people know Thai people as a land of smile. We think we have a really great hospitality service mind. Also the back of the house, the chef, everyone would just love what they do. So I think it's the whole team exactly build it all together. So that's I think is the key of this accomplishment for us.
I'm speaking with Chompon Boonnak, or Boong, is the co-owner of Mahaniyom in Brookline, and its cocktail sibling, Merai, which is an elevated Thai dive bar. So let's go to cocktails and talk about some of this. I was watching some videos of what you have and what you're serving. You are really, really inventive. But going back to what you were saying, you didn't know anything about cocktails or bar culture until you came to this country.
Correct. Yes.
And what did you see?
So back in the day, like when I have to talk about like a Thai culture when we drinking is like we go drink as like a friend to hang out, but everything is just like kind of a straight up like whiskey, soda. That's all we know over there in Thailand. And then when I moved here, I saw like the classic cocktail was like booming. I went to the restaurant and then I was like, what is this? Like, and that's how I kind of fall in love. And then I was like, I work in the restaurant already, so I'm just like try to like apply for the job like a bar back this place, and then start my way up to get into the cocktail world.
Well, it's one thing to be an observer, but it's another to be able to do it. How did your sense of how to take these very traditional cocktails but make them your own, how did that begin to happen for you?
So it's like the very beginning is like back in that time we don't have the social media yet. We do like I study from the book, and then it's all the classic cocktail like old fashioned, martinis, those stuff, and then and the inventive of the cocktail world is also like starting at that time. So we add a little flavor from this, so that's how I kind of put all together. Like we use Thai flavor and then just add on this like classic cocktail.
Well, I'm so interested in this. We did a whole segment on the martini recently. I'm a big martini guy. So for example, a straight up gin martini. How do you bring us back to Thailand with your flavors?
So like the one that I really have, we just have at Mahaniyom right now. We call Michelin martini. So we use like the inspiration I use is like from the dish called Gang Pet Pet Yang, which is like we have a smoked duck with the curry, a little bit of pineapple, just like that idea. But and then I use the gin infused with a pineapple. And I just have the olive that's like a kind of dirty martini, but and then I smoke with the duck that we smoke it already to cook, and then so we put the olive together, and then we can just like combine, play around with this, and then it's like you take a little bit of the component like deconstructed, but yes, that's how we do it.
That sounds incredible and magical.
Thank you.
And how do all those flavors come together? Especially, you said pineapple, right? That's what you're adding. So the sweetness of the pineapple, how does that work with a smoky flavor?
It's when the smoke flavor is in the olive. So we recommend the customer just like, hey, try the olive, and while you drink the martini is like a pungent with the gin, and then you get a sweet from the pineapple, and then when you bite this, you get like feel like a smoked olive. It's just like together is really like fun and and enjoy.
A huge sensory experience then, which you've thought through. So as you're crafting your cocktails, are you thinking about all of the moments that somebody can have when they're sitting there drinking?
It's like part of the experience too. It's just like when you see the dish and then it was like, hey, this might work. Like, and of course, we're talking about the successful case that we make a good cocktail, but there's a bunch that like it wasn't eatable, But yes, it's like some of them like when we have the concept and then we put together, all we gotta do is trying and make it like a fun thing to do. Yeah.
I'm wondering about another drink that I read about. Actually, I think I watched this in a video that was created that basically looks like water. So it could be very dangerous. Tell me about this drink.
So it's that's one of the drinks. It's called Pilsen. That's like we call Pilsen. We like look like a water, but the whole concept is just like one of my rep that's like recommend me this rum is from Mexico. And combined with cachaça, so have a smoky flavor, and they have like a glassy, earthy flavor. It's all like clear spirit, and then I just add a little bit of pandan, and then we smoke with the apple wood, and and it's just like so easy to sip, and it's like more like a sweet side, but and then smokiness of kind of cut to the sweet side, and then when you drink this with the spicy food, it's just like really good together. Yeah.
So a lot of people are used to going to a restaurant and asking for a wine pairing, but you're all about the cocktail pairing for your entrees.
We were
or
trying,
sharing, because I know you're more tapa style.
Yeah.
I want to ask about the hospitality part. You just mentioned that people know Thailand for hospitality and care. I was really struck by something Deborah first wrote, and again, her 5-star review of your restaurant, that here she was at a table, and when the gentleman next to her left, your team scooted his table over so that hers could have more room.
Yeah.
I just love that so much because it shows that you're paying attention. And I think that's what, when people go into a space, a hotel, a restaurant, a bar, they want to know that somebody's looking out for them to give them a great experience. This is something, do you train for, or just comes naturally?
I would say half and half. We obviously want the great service, but we don't want to be like a white tablecloth, like fine dining style. We just want to be like a home style that's like, but our team always have to like help each other, try to greet the customer nicely and make sure that they get everything they would need, and then we just make sure that they're comfortable enough, because like Mahaniyom is so small, and you know we want to make the best of it, and then you know sometimes it's a little tight, but so those extra help or extra care would also help like the customer experience. That's what we were there for. Yeah.
Does it become challenging? We hear all these horror stories now about really rude diners and what they say on Yelp after and how they treat people. Is it hard to have hospitality in this region?
It's really challenging. It's really, really hard. Like, you know, we don't know where people coming from, what's their expectation, and then especially with the Michelin coming through, it's just like, you know, we get more like a response, and then like random more people. So I would say it's one of the biggest challenge. Even now we still like, it's like 2 months now, we try our best, but I feel like we cannot please everybody, but we try our best. But yes, super hard. I don't know how to explain it, but it's super hard. Yes.
Well, I think we've all dined in restaurants. I think we know exactly what you're talking about because we've seen it unfold. So what was that moment like? Were you expecting it? Did you have any idea it was coming, the Michelin status, and what was that like?
So we definitely like got an email first. We was like, oh my God, we get something. Yes, for sure. The cocktail exceptional, I think that is none. Like I have no idea. I was like with my chef guy and Smash, and we were still like joking to my chef that like, oh maybe they invite us, maybe you gonna get a 1 Michelin star. And then he's like the really humble, really quiet chef, and then he was like nervous, like yeah. And then all of a sudden it was just like my name. I was like, what? But yeah, it's like Smash was like, bro, like you. I was like, what? And then but it's such an honor and great experience for me and the team and for all of us. Yeah.
Well, you talked about the hospitality pressure, but is there pressure in every regard now that this status comes?
Yeah. Oh my God, it's a big it's a big pressure, but. Yeah, so we try our best. We gonna keep the consistency of the food, that's for sure. The service is a little bit overwhelmed, but we try our best. Like now we have like once a week that kind of keep up for all the staff, like what we learned so far, what's happened. So we try to improve every day by day.
Did you see all of this for yourself? Again, talking about you come to this country and you're not even studying the culinary arts, but you decide to do this because there's something you see in it you really like. Did you feel like you were manifesting it for yourself, that this would happen, or is this beyond your wildest dreams?
It's I would say it's a wild dreams for me, because like at I'm probably like a immigrant, normal immigrant that you come here, you try to survive, you try to hustle, and it's still a great country that like if I believe you keep hustling, you will be fine, you will survive, and that's how it's all start. And now today it's just awesome.
Well, I couldn't be happier for you and your team, what you've all created. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much. ขอบคุณครับ. Yes.
Chompon Boonnak is the co-owner of Mahaniyom in Brookline and its cocktail sibling Merai, which is an elevated Thai dive bar. Mahaniyom received a Bib Gourmand designation, and he received a special Exceptional Cocktails Award. Again, thank you so much. You can tune into the show tomorrow, as we'll have Uli Lorimer, the head horticulturalist at Native Plant Trust, joining us, plus Matthew Schifrin, founder of Bricks for the Blind, joins us to talk about the challenges and surreal situations he experiences traveling blind. I'm Jared Bowen. Have a great day.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
GBH's All Things Considered is coming up this afternoon at 4, with Marketplace at 6:30. But first, get a global view of the news with The World. Up next, here on GBH 89.7.
Support for our programs comes from you.
And MIT Federal Credit Union. Their mortgages are built around their members with personalized guidance. Memberships open to the public. More at mitfcu.org. Federally insured by NCUA, NMLS number 39923. And Landvest Christie's International Real Estate, an independent brokerage representing residential and investment properties for buyers and sellers across New England and the Adirondacks since 1968. More at landvest.com.
What if meant nice to meet you, or meant